have imagined the COVID pandemic that would pull everybody apart. But the idea of bringing people together to fulfill to make lives of people and family living with Gaucher disease better is really the whole idea behind the organization. We have a triangular goals. Our goals are education, advocacy, and God, and what? Community. Oh my gosh. So and it's been a long day. So our community is all about peer-to-peer support. Everyone in the GCA, all of our board of directors, even our fabulous event planner that has been working nonstop, Donna Corin, everybody is either a Gaucher patient or a Gaucher family member, and that is what community is. We are all in this supporting each other and together. Every one of our teachers today at all of our workshops is either a patient or a family member. We can learn from each other. This is not about bringing in the highest paid expert. This is about our own personal lived experience. And through that experience, we can teach each other and grow as better patients, better advocates, and ultimately have better lives. And so that's really what our organization is about. I do want to take this opportunity to give a special shout out to all of our board members who have really worked hard to make this conference possible by volunteering, by working on workshops, and really just supporting Cindy and me along the way with their advice and guidance. So when I say your name, please stand. Wayne Rosenfield, Melissa Steinman, Christine White, Fan Ding, Lauren Edwards, Stacy Fuhr, Diana Wang, Chris Harita, and Elena Davidson. We have several board members that weren't able to travel with us, and those are Ken Lipowitz, Mark Gerlich, Karen Shaw, and Teresa Sweeney. So we thank them also. Now we're going to have some fun. So you want to come up? So before we turn over our program to the real speakers for the evening, which are definitely not me, as you can see, we're going to have some trivia questions. We promised you all trivia. These questions are based on a history of Gaucher disease that was put together by Nancy Masters, who is a parent of 2 adult daughters with Gaucher disease, and she really has lived the Gaucher disease experience. And so from the time her children were little through the NIH trials, she has lived this experience. And so the movies that you see playing outside, it was playing in here earlier, this was all put together by Nancy to educate our community about the history of Gaucher disease and how far we've come. The fact that most of us are here walking on our own 2 feet is really a testament to how far this disease have come, because that was not the case 30 years ago. And so in honor of that history, we have some trivia questions.
You introduce the girls?
Yes. Oh, yeah. And so our trivia questions, our answers are open to anybody. Patients, industry, students. If you think you know the answer, anybody can win these little tiny prizes. So everyone can participate. And we have some runners who will be running the prizes to you. So we have Abby and Rebecca Davidson, who will be bringing you your prize if you get the answer right.
Are you allowed to say they're also type 1 patients?
Sure, and these are also young women with Gaucher disease type 1. So they will be providing your prize. Now, obviously, this is not an official. We don't have buzzers. We don't have time clocks. So we're just still having a little bit of fun. So if you think your hand went up first and I didn't see it, I'm really sorry.
Say what the prizes are.
Well, how about if we say them before each one? So
Okay.
We need a line judge to make sure it's from the side.
Okay. So I'm going to ask the first question. The prize for the first question is an osteocyte. So this is a bone cell, and if you answer this question correctly, the first person to answer this question correctly will have your very own osteocyte to take home with you this evening. Okay, so you ready for the question? And I'm gonna look at whoever's hand goes up first. It's a two-part question. So you need, I think you should wait for both parts unless you want to answer the second part before you know the question. You need to get both parts right. First question, what is an orphan disease and how did the Orphan Drug Act of 1983 help the Gaucher community? Yeah.
Who got it? Betsy.
Betsy, what's the answer?
So an orphan disease is a rare disease that has a limited patient pool. To encourage research into these rare diseases, a act was passed by Congress in order to help fund research, so that for these diseases, it will encourage it, right?
That's correct. So Betsy wins an osteocyte. And an orphan disease is one that affects less than 200,000 Americans. 200,000.
So what does that make Gaucher's a super orphan?
So, hi, you guys. Question number 2, and the person mentioned, and this is very close to my heart.
Okay, what's the prize?
Oh, a liver. And there is educational material on the back of the tag. What's that? Well, if it's my liver, it's definitely a vegetarian liver. So, what national award did Dr. Roscoe Brady receive in 2008? Ooh. Can you get the name more precise? No? All right, let's see over here. We're going to be sticklers to this. It was, but we need the exact name of the medal.
Presidential, there's not presidential medal, presidential award for science, was it?
No.
National medal for technology innovation.
He wins a liver.
All right. Our next prize is a broken bone. Oh. Our next prize is a broken bone. Oh, so sad. Okay. What are the 2 types of currently FDA-approved treatments for Gaucher disease? Enzyme replacement therapy, substrate reduction therapy. She gets a broken bone.
Okay. We have a strand of DNA. It goes this way. Or 2 worms intertwined. Okay, the 4th question. What neurological disease is also related to Gaucher disease mutations? Stacy. There you go. It's blood cells.
Okay. Okay. Now this is really something special. We have a box of blood cells, including red blood, white blood, plasma, platelets, and antibodies. No Gaucher cells, but no, but we're all on treatment.
ERT
So
costs extra.
where is the world's largest center for Gaucher disease? Yeah. Bing.
Ta-da! It's a giant spleen. Okay, so the last question for the spleen, which I think is definitely the best prize, and it's much bigger than the liver. What types of cells are used to produce, your note is in here. What types of original cells, right?
No, we're originally used to produce.
What types of cells were originally used to produce Cerezyme, VPRIV, and Elilyso? Uh-oh.
Originally.
Yeah. All right. The Canadians.
What? Okay, that's for one. You got to get the other two.
Yes, that's correct. Yay! And now what are we doing? I'm introducing Jim Cloyd, right? I don't know. Is you ready? All right, so now I'd like to introduce, we have a really cool program tonight. We've been working with the university. We haven't been working with them, but Rena and Dr. Carther and I have become very close in working together with a lot of stuff, and this really started from a drug study at the University of Minnesota that developed into a beautiful relationship. And we would like to welcome Dr. James Cloyd from the University of Minnesota. I'm going to try to read a bunch of stuff, but it's way too long.
Yeah.
Summarize, okay. So he is a Morse Alumni Distinguished Teaching Professor, the Lawrence C. Weaver Endowed Chair in Orphan Drug Development, and the Director of the Center of Orphan Drug Research at the University of Minnesota. And he's going to tell you the rest.
Cindy, thank you, and being so gracious to shortcut the introduction, because we want to make sure we get the information out that's really important, and it's not about me. In the next 15 minutes or so, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the center. I urge you to stay awake for that, but if you can't, I understand. But after that, we have a real treat in that we have Laverne Seifert, the director of a rare disease play, and the playwright, Kevin Kling, and they're going to treat you to an introduction to the play, which we performed over the month of October, and they'll provide a great deal more detail and a video. Now, is the slide set queued? Okay, good. So I represent the Center for Orphan Drug Research at the University of Minnesota, and we're housed in the College of Pharmacy. And I now realize that we don't need to spend much time on this because this audience got the questions correctly. But there are a few points that are probably worth making here. The prevalence, and again, prevalence just means the number of people that have something in the overall population. So, if you have high blood pressure, that prevalence is very high. If you have Gaucher, that prevalence is very low. And interestingly enough, other parts of the world differentiate rare from other diseases in a different way. And in the EU, it's fixed at the population at the time. So strangely, the EU is more restrictive right now. However, in the United States, because the population number for rare disease is 200,000, what's happening to the rest of the US population? It's going up. So in fact, and I don't know if the framers of this law envision this, the requirements to qualify as a rare disease is becoming more stringent. Now, the majority, as perhaps this audience knows so well, affects children first. There is a genetic association with many of these disorders. And the current statement is there are 7,000 plus rare disorders. It's likely it's higher than that right now, and that number is growing as we gain further understanding of the underlying biology of disease, and particularly of rare disorders. So the number's growing, but we're also learning more about the biology of rare diseases, and that's a good thing, because it opens the door for treatments. Now, we have a term called orphan drugs, and that term may have been used prior to 1983, it certainly was, but it became encoded in the Orphan Drug Act. And the framers, that included Henry Waxman, indicated that in order to qualify for orphan designation, you had to do two things. You had to show that the condition was in fact rare, that is to say it had fewer than 200,000 people, and that your drug might work. And I can assure you that that Orphan Drug Act, approved in 1983, has had an enormous impact. And among other things, something like 9,000 designation submissions over the last, what it would be, about 40 years or so, have been submitted to the FDA. And of those 9,000, about 6,000 have been granted designation. That's the good news. The more challenging thing is to move from designation to drug approval. And you'll see in this slide that this Orphan Drug Act has resulted in a great increase in the number. And in fact, in 2021, about half of all the new molecular entities, the new drug compounds that were approved by the FDA, were orphan drugs. That's quite something. But we've got to move the needle from 26 to 2,600 or something like that to begin making a real inroad. So, we are at the Center for Orphan Drug Research, which is located in this beautiful building right behind the University of Minnesota Golden Gopher Stadium. And our mission is to improve the care of individuals who have rare disorders by doing research, education, and community engagement and advocacy. And I'm very pleased to tell you this evening, I think I can show to you that we've upheld that mission. We've fulfilled to date what we've set out to do. We're also members of a newly designated Center of Excellence for Rare Diseases at the University of Minnesota and our healthcare partner, Fairview. And you'll be hearing more about this as this center begins to gel and we begin to create some structure. Right now, it's a group of people trying to put together all the research and clinicians and clinics and other resources under the umbrella of the University of Minnesota and Fairview together so it becomes easy for you to get help, whether that be for care or for information or for research. Stay tuned. Who are we? We have really an outstanding group of people, and I'm blessed to be part of it. Tonight, Dr. Cartha, who heads up our translational pharmacology mission, is here. Raise your hand. You'll be hearing more about some of the great work she's doing. But we also have a pediatric neurologist who has worked in epilepsy with rare epilepsy disorders, and then a group of members who bring to the center a wide range of expertise that is really helpful when we're trying to put forward one of the programs we have, whether that be research, education, or outreach. And then, in addition to that, we have a staff team of laboratory scientists and research scientists. We have a postdoctoral fellow who fulfills part of our research and education mission, Jake Road. There you go. And we have a really superb administrator who makes things happen. Now, one of our missions is research. And here's what we try to do. Recognizing we can't do research in every rare disorder. We tried to pick the areas where we had some ability to move the needle. My background has been in neurology and in particular epilepsy. And in fact, I was blessed with the opportunity to develop an orphan drug called Diastat, or rectal diazepam. That opportunity eventually led me to be a candidate to serve as the first endowed chair for the center. So you naturally will see a number of rare epilepsy disorders, but we're also working in the area of spasticity and then rare neurologic and psychiatric disorders, with one exception. I suppose Parkinson doesn't qualify, and this condition called non-suicidal self-injury. It's a psychiatric disorder. You may not have been aware of the name, but you may have known of individuals, typically teenage girls and young women, who will injure themselves as part of a psychiatric disorder. And we think we may have a way of mitigating some of that. And then we have a variety of tools that we use. We look at mechanisms of action, this thing called, thank you, this thing called biomarkers, which is typically some biological our endogenous substance in our body that may reflect either the severity of the disorder or whether or not we're being successful in treatment. And then we have some other tools that are called pharmacokinetics, what the body does to the drug, including metabolism. We carry out safety and efficacy studies, including phase 3 trials. And then we create models. Pharmacometrics is this fancy term to take a look at some amount of drug in the body or a tissue and some response, and putting together a model so we can predict what the ideal therapy would be. And we use various types of technology such as cells, which was discussed a little while ago. We do animal work with human cells, and then animals indeed who have a condition that mimics the human condition. Now let me be clear. We're at a state-funded university. We're not a drug company. And so there are two pathways we follow in terms of taking an idea, a concept. And that concept may require that we do some preclinical work, and we do that. And then, depending on what we find preclinically, if we need to do that study, we move in to research in human beings, first often in healthy volunteers, and then in patients. If what we're doing could lend to some commercialization of the product, we do that, and we do that in collaboration with companies. There are times, though, when we will repurpose a medication, and there's no way that we're going to commercialize it, nor do we want to. And we're going to show you an example of this in just a minute. But what we do is well-characterized studies that demonstrates if the drug works or not, is it safe or is it not, and what's the proper dose and regimen. And then we publish that in respected journals, and then it's taken up by clinicians so that they can offer it to you. We're not making money off of that, but we're doing the right thing by trying to get better therapies to people who need them. What's our track record? Remember, we're a very small organization, but I am very pleased to say that with the advent of rectal diazepam, we had an approved orphan drug. Now we're moving on to other types of ways of treating this condition, and we're looking at an intranasal approach to solving this problem. There's another condition called status epilepticus. Many of you may know what this is. It's very prolonged seizures. It's the kind of seizure you see in all the medical TV series in the emergency department. And we're looking at ways to treat that. We're also looking at an older anti-seizure medication called topiramate, which at the end of the day may be useful for neonatal seizures. And if we were successful in that, that would be a real breakthrough. I mentioned spasticity. We've developed an intravenous baclofen formulation, and our partner company submitted a year ago to the FDA a new drug application, and we're hopefully soon to hear if it's going to be approved, and we think it will be. And that'll give clinicians and families a better chance of maintaining therapy when they can't take their medication by mouth. Now we come to a very important disorder, Gaucher type 1, and Dr. Cartha mentioned and is undertaking this study, and Ms. Frank was involved in this study, and we're trying to understand if this over-the-counter dietary supplement can be beneficial in alleviating some of the symptoms of Gaucher disease. It's taken us a while to enroll the necessary number of subjects, and COVID did not help, but we're hoping to reinitiate that study in the very near future. Dr. Cartha is also looking at another type of N-acetylcysteine that has some better properties and is engaged in some preclinical studies, including fibroblasts derived from humans who have Gaucher. Moving down, we deviate sometimes from our neurological component because we have some expertise that can be helpful to other faculty at the university. And in this case, adrenal insufficiency is a congenital disorder in which children don't produce enough cortisol. and it can be quite devastating. And so my colleague, in combination with pediatric endocrinologists, are looking at a rescue therapy to treat that. And that's just getting started. I've already told you about the non-suicidal self-injury, again with our old friend N-acetylcysteine. Nobody has to say that word. We say NAC, N-A-C. And then there's another type of disease. It's in a slightly different cell organelle. It's in a peroxisome, not a lysosome, and it's called adrenal leukodystrophy, and it's also quite rare. And sure enough, Dr. Cartha, again, is taking a look at a new compound to see if it can reduce the underlying pathology associated with adrenal leukodystrophy. Research. Mission 2, education. We're actively engaged at education at all levels, and that means starting at professionals such as nurses, physicians, pharmacists, social workers. But we also engage in lectures and education to trainees, and that includes the medical school and the pharmacy school. We do national presentations, and I can now add and will add the Gaucher Community Alliance as an organization, but we've presented at NORD and international groups, professional healthcare groups such as the American College of Clinical Pharmacy, and even the FDA. We've participated in workshops to get people ready to apply for orphan designation. And we offer research clerkships. So a number of our students hearing about us will come to us, and this includes undergraduates, I should point out. It didn't include it. Somehow they find us at this big university, and I'm not quite sure how they do that, but they come and say, can I get involved in some way? And so we create an opportunity where they can either earn credit in a clerkship, or they can do something like directed studies, or even summertime research assistantships, and they get involved in one of the many projects we have underway. And something wonderful happens, particularly with the undergraduate students. They catch the bug. And very often those students, having worked with us for a couple of years, then apply to medical school or pharmacy school, and even some now, since we've been around a while, are now pursuing postgraduate careers in the pharmaceutical industry and in academia, and some are looking at working in the area of rare disorders. So we're very proud of that. And then a few years ago, Dr. Cartha put forward a proposal to the University of Minnesota in a program called Grand Challenges. And the challenge was to produce something for freshmen, first-year students, as an honors course. And it was a very rigorous competitive review, and she was selected among a few that were to put on this course. It's proven to be highly successful, and it says, the title is Rare Diseases, What It Takes to Be a Medical Orphan. And she has designed a beautiful course that brings in patients and advocacy organizations, healthcare professionals, researchers, and we talk about things like gene therapy and study design and economics. But we also talk about the experience of having a rare disorder. And the students at the end are paired up with patient advocacy organizations to do a project. We have a speaker then for the course.
I teach the first class.
And it is to see the transformation that takes place in these students as they start from nothing. Their first year students, fall quarter, knowing nothing, very little about biology, let alone rare diseases. And at the end, many of those students are saying, I want to pursue this. So there'll be a day when some of those students in Dr. Cartha's course will be at your side helping you in the management of Gaucher. And then community engagement and advocacy. As you've already heard, part of our opportunity to engage in the community is interact with groups such as yourself. And we have done this both locally and nationally. We put on a rare disease program in conjunction to the Worldwide Rare Disease Day. And that program is now in something like its 12th year, and I'll show you just a bit of what we do in that in a moment. And then I'm very pleased to hand over the controller and the microphone to my colleagues to talk about the play. So, Our Rare Disease Day program is done in conjunction with the Stem Cell Institute at the university. Next first quarter of next year, it'll be in March 2nd at our Alumni Center on campus. If you have nothing else to do and you really want to come back to Minnesota in March early, we would welcome that. Just to give you an idea of the topics, we've had programs on gene therapy, telehealth, the transition from child care to adult care for rare disorders, and even a major focus on, a major program on patient-focused drug development, whereby patients and patient organizations can guide the FDA and inform the FDA on how to conduct clinical trials for approval. And that's proved enormously important to the FDA. And now, another form of engagement is our involvement and our wonderful experience it has been to help put together a play and then to see its performance over this month of October. And it's a collaboration between the Department of Theater Arts and Dance at the university, Assad House Theater, and the Center for Orphan Drug Research. The director is Laverne Seifert. His colleague in that department, Sonia Koftenik, has been an enormous help as a co-director, let's say. Yeah. And then the playwright is Kevin Kling, and well known for those of you who are interested in National Public Radio. And at this point, I'm going to stop. I thank you for your attention, and we're going to segue to the play and its discussion.
Thank you so much. And we're honored to be here tonight at the Gaucher Community Patient and Family Conference. This project that we're about to show you a video documentary of has been going on for about a year. And it is a collaboration between the University of Minnesota Center of Orphan Drug Research, Assad House Theater, and also the University Department of Theater, Arts, and Dance. And we came together because of a mutual colleague, Paul Ranelli, who is actually a pharmacist in Duluth. And he has a mission in life to bring arts and sciences together to tell stories. And so we've worked on a project previous to this one at the University of Minnesota, and then this one came about as well as an opportunity to work with the Center of Orphan Drug Research. And I have to say that, you know, it's an incredible buy-in for an organization like the Center of Orphan Drug Research to be trustworthy, trusting us enough to really want to take on a theater project to help tell their story. And I just want to say that we've been delighted with the collaboration that has taken place between the two organizations. So it began as this collaboration, and we had a focus of bringing attention to those diagnosed with a rare disease. A collaboration, in the collaboration, we adapted a Greek tragedy, Kevin did as the playwright, Philoctetes, to help an audience gain a greater awareness and deeper understanding of the medical, economic, psychological, and social challenges facing people with rare diseases. And so we performed the show in 8 different places. It was a theater event, 8 venues in 3 states. And actually, we just got back from Fargo, North Dakota last night, and we culminated our tour. And so we're kind of fresh off the wonderful experience that we had there. It was actually quite spectacular. It was an opportunity to bring art and science together in an effort to move people into action, no matter how small the act. Whether it was to increase the audience's understanding of rare diseases, inspire them to contribute to the cause, or simply create empathy for people who are experiencing a rare disease, all are important in finding the treatment or cure of a rare disease. And so I thought maybe at this point we could just show the video. It has a lot of information in it. It's still in a rough draft, but Kira Ron is the documentarian of the video. Oh, do we have that set up? Yes. Oh, fantastic, lovely. So then maybe we thought, yeah, that would.
Just to be clear, this is not the play per se.
Yes.
It is a documentary about the creation.
Yes.
Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely. So Kira has been with us since day one, since the project began, and the play has actually had 3 iterations. One was at the University of Minnesota with students. The second was in a workshop over the summer, and the third was this final performance that we created. And so Kira went around documenting, meeting with people, getting interviews, all of these wonderful things. And so this is what we will be showing you tonight. And thought maybe afterwards, if you have any questions for anybody here at this table, we would love to hear them. But enjoy the show. Thank you.
The Center of Orphan Drug Research approached the University of Minnesota Department of Theater Arts and Dance, and they said that we have a challenge. 1 in 10 people in the United States has a rare disease. 30% of children with a rare disease die by the age of 5. And this information is not getting out to the public.
Touch on that and start tomorrow with just some discussion of what are you seeing in that play that connects to rare disease.
My name is Sonia Kuptinets. I'm a professor of theater at the University of Minnesota.
How do we tell both the meta story and the story at the same time?
I've been working with Laverne Seifert to develop the project for about a year.
Yep, that's lovely, and then you come back. All things are possible then.
We're also working with Kevin Kling, who's an amazing storyteller and playwright.
Keep me from cutting stuff, because I'll get excited.
So I guess it was about a year ago, Laverne gave me a call and asked if I'd be interested in working with the orphan drug department at the university and doing a play about what it's like to have a rare disease, which I do. And so it was a great fit.